weekend. We're just getting back into it. You're just joining us.
What a weekend, man.
What a weekend. Thank you so much for keeping us on the air here on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell, your afternoon drive. Yeah, the news broke, obviously, at the beginning of the weekend about Grayson Murray and obviously, taking his own life. And that's a story unto itself. He was 30 years old, engaged to be married, professional golfer. And, that one was tough to take. But then the second hit was Bill Walton. And I think that, I've met Bill, but, interviewed him a few times, didn't know him as a friend. But he's the type of human that everybody feels like you know him because he's so openly friendly, such a giving human of all of his energy and stuff to make, basketball a great experience as a player, as an announcer, as just, a human being. And then being goofy on top of it, being a deadhead, which is some of his personal stuff, and trying to, be charitable and helping, his community as a whole. I mean, just everything about Bill Walton was he being such a giving individual. And the one thing that sticks out for me, and I think he wrote a book about this, thankful for my life, but from that standpoint, that's why I'll miss this guy. There's not enough Bill Waltons in the world, on the planet. And we need more of them. All the stuff, and I don't want to get deep here, but all the stuff going on around everybody every day in this world today. And that guy would have none of it. That guy was here to brighten anybody's day, anybody and everybody's day. That was the way he lived his life. And so for him to die at 71 was kind of shocking to me. I didn't think that guy was dying anytime soon.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the most shocking part of him passing away. Cancer sucks. Lost a lot of people in my life to cancer. I've had cancer. That's part of living. But for him, I just thought that this guy was kind of like superhuman and would live on for a long time.
I really appreciated, especially in the last 5 years, his basketball broadcast. There's a part of it that when it first started and he would just be as goofy as all get out and he would veer off into this conversation totally unrelated to anything in the building, not basketball, not even in the town.
God, yeah, it could be a girder beam that catches his eye and he would discuss it. Absolutely.
And I understand there's a lot of basketball fans that hated that wanted to poo-poo the Bill Walton games, but I thought it was a change of pace. He didn't have it all the time. And the one thing in our world, and I am so guilty of this, I do this every day, probably every hour in this room, is being critical of athletes on what they should be doing or what they're not doing. When you listen to a Bill Walton broadcast, find me a critical moment where he thinks that this person is not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
It is all positive. And it's almost impossible to do a basketball game like that anymore. It's very hard to even think of. And he did it every single time. I was really proud for Donovan Clingan to be mentioned by Bill Walton the last couple of years during the NCAA tournament. That was the thing coming into the building. Did you hear Bill Walton talked about Clingan last night? Wow, that's awesome. Awesome for Donovan to have recognition from one of the best to do it in kind of the same body type as a Bill Walton. He will be sorely missed in the NBA, especially on the West Coast, the UCLA fan base, and everything in between when it comes to Bill Walton. But again, the way he lived his life, and you guys said the perfect words for it, free spirit. The guy was always a free spirit. He never compromised who he was in order for more clicks, in order to have a better take, in order to sound like he knew what he was talking about in the game of basketball all the time. He could care less if you think that or not. He is going to be himself, and that was great. Not good enough, great for everyone.
We had him on a regular basis on the Mike and Mike program. Excuse me. And I shared part of it last night. What he did on this one occasion, and I just remember him coming on with Mike and Mike, and he starts out right out of the chute. John Wooden, Jerry Garcia, and and who's the other one? John Wooden, Jerry Garcia, and Larry Bird. Those three people, what did they have in common? They were all about making other people's dreams come true.
Not even prompt to start that way.
Right.
That was after Hello.
I mean, but everything about him, I mean, so growing up here on the East Coast, and then I would live 10 years on the West Coast in L.A., I always had a certain perception of everybody on the West Coast, kind of like surfer dudes, laid back, easygoing, fun-loving.
Cool breezers is what you like to say.
Yeah, I call them cool breezers.
Cool breezers.
That's Bill Walton. I mean, my wife, by the way, loves the Grateful Dead. She doesn't consider herself a deadhead. He does. He says he saw 849 Grateful Dead shows. Almost anything he ever wore had some kind of tie-dye in it. That's part of their thing, and all of that. But he also did other things. I mean, he rode a bike, a 6'11" dude that had leg problems, knee problems, ankle problems. You know, I mean, being big sucks.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I worked with John Sally, who's 7 feet, had pins put in every toe. It's just hard to survive life being 7 feet tall. And he didn't care. Even right up probably to the day he died, he was probably riding his bike, lived in the same house for 40 years. He's not the kind of guy where it was all ever about making money or his fame or any of that stuff. He just enjoyed being on the planet. And I think that's a lesson for every one of us to learn is to appreciate Mother Nature, to appreciate the life that we have, and all of that. And that's, I think, anytime I was ever able to be a part of an interview that he was in or listen to a broadcast that he was on, I was listening to this guy.
Yeah.
Because he makes everybody, like he said, he makes everybody around him better. You know, that's what he was all about. So I'm sure we all start out selfish in our teen years and like in college. I'm sure he thought he was full of himself when he was at UCLA and winning national championships. But by the time you get gray and older, I think you appreciate living that life, you know, and you waste too much time being selfish when you're young. So I think that's the message to the young people that listen to our show. I'm 60. You know, I'm not getting younger anytime soon. You know, I'm near the end of my lifespan. But for me, I appreciate the young people in my life, and even my 13-year-old daughter, because they're seeing things for the first time, you know, and that's where you should appreciate things now. Don't wait till you're old like us to appreciate things. That's the message that I think he had to offer.
You know who's really living that in the NBA right now and has really turned me around? Like, I think I've done a whole 180 on this guy. I'm going to watch him tonight.
Kyrie.
I love me some Kyrie right now, man. Like, Kyrie is his best self in the last year and a half.
And I think that, again, he's nearing the end of his career. You start to realize, man, well, I was probably a hard ass the first 12 years of my career. Why? Why was I so like everything? And you start to appreciate it. And I think maybe it takes playing with a player like Luka Doncic, like he says, that makes him better because he can be free to do whatever he wants to do, kind of, roam around and do different things on a basketball court. Even he never thought he could do. And now he's getting close to winning a championship. I think now he's like, okay, I should have been better. There's a lot of wasted years here. Every time I see something about Darryl Strawberry, I think that, or Doc Gooden.
Yeah.
You know, these are guys that were exceptional specimens. God made them special. And it's like, had they not gone down certain roads and paths, things could have turned out differently for them. And I think that a guy like Kyrie, the reason I appreciate that now is when he comes off a basketball court, he shakes everybody's hand. He now realizes, listen, I should notice everybody. So like you were talking about Bill Walton. Bill Walton seems to me like the guy that notices everything about everything. You know, I've been that way my whole life, where I've always felt like I'm on the outside looking in. And I've always felt blessed by God that I'm that way, that I appreciate like a bee buzzing around my house or birds trying to make a nest in my deck. You know, there's just like little things, like a bear walked across our backyard yesterday. Like I'm screaming out, bear in the backyard, and both my wife and my daughter run over because they're flabbergasted that a bear's walking through our backyard. Those are the little things that I think you need to stop. And I had a great minor league coach when I was in my early 20s that was like, listen, you need to stop and smell the flowers, smell the roses. because your career is fleeting. Your fame is fleeting. There's going to be a time when nobody gives a crap about you. So you should care about things around you. And that was in my early 20s, and that really meant a lot to me.
I think a guy for Kyrie, and I've been thinking of this guy with both the moves that he did with both those guys, is Mark Cuban. Like, I just remember being in this room saying, man, Mark Cuban, what are you thinking? You know how this is going to turn out.
A lot of baggage.
And he took a chance on somebody that nobody else really wanted to. Mark Cuban gave up Trae Young for Luka on draft night. He traded with the Hawks. In Dallas, the kid from Oklahoma, that would be perfect. He shoots threes. That's the league. Perfect. And for him to make those two moves on two guys that the whole entire world was like, what are you doing? This European guy is just going to fizzle out.
He got rid of Porzingis, too.
For this. And I think Cuban has to get some credit here. I know he's not the owner, 100% of the owner now, but
you got to okay these moves. So some basketball knowledgeable person comes to you, and you're a good business person, and says, hey, you could do this, or you don't have to do it, but it's going to make you better. Kyrie was a definite wild card.
It'd be hard-pressed for me to make that move. Faux show. And for him to do it, and for him to have the trust, because it's not like anybody's been babysitting these two. It's not anybody's been like, hey, you two need to get together and, like, figure it out how you're going to be better basketball players. Like, these guys have emerged together.
You have to be a team. You have to be a family. If you can't coexist, you can't win. If you watch the teams now that are in any of these sports coming down to the wire, the Final Four in the NHL, now there's 3 left in the NBA, you start looking at are the Celtics better in 2024 than they were in 23, 22, 21? And yes, they are.
I think so too.
Yeah, and what makes them better? Probably because they can coexist better.
Yeah,
Al Horford came back for this, by the way.
Right.
I appreciate that dude at 37 years old, been around the block a few times. He came back to this after they basically told him to leave. When someone says leave, it's not easy to swallow your pride a little bit and be like, okay, I'll go back to that team, even though at one point they were like, yeah, we don't think you fit in here.
And, as much as I talk crap about Hauser, like the communication between him and Tatum last night, it felt like these two have been teammates forever. And just the Celtics are such a team and are so together now more than last year that they kind of have their own language that they didn't really exist. And I think Mazzulla being there for another year with the drama with Ime Udoka that happened just before Mazzulla got there, like it took a little while to shake that off and to find their own team identity. But now they have it where it does feel like they all speak in code that only they understand, and that the additions of Derek White and Drew Holiday have been second nature to this ball club, where they have been a perfect addition to their family. And you can see it. You can see it on the court. You can see it how they play. It's a lot less of the one-on-one stuff that we've been complaining about for a while, but really it's more about these crunch time wins. Every game against the Pacers was close. Every game could have gone the other way. And for them to stick together as a team and not doubt and continue that faith, that's just a testament to what they've been through more than just this season. It goes beyond this season.
And on that note, Jason Tatum did a real veteran leadership type thing. And what is he, 26 last night, when the reporter tried to say something negative about Derek White missing a lot of threes. He quickly pointed to, yes, but we still have the confidence in Derek to take that shot at the end of the game because we knew he would make it. And he basically stepped up and was like, no, you're not going to say anything negative about him missing 7. We're going to talk about the 2 that he did make because the 1 clinched it for us. That was the clinching basket. And he basically said, listen, we set him up and passed it around to get it to Derek because we knew he'd make that shot. And so I thought that was a very veteran leadership type comment instead of, maybe, saying something about himself. That's the one thing that, I think that's why they're going to win.
Well, the moment with Hauser last night, Hauser misses another 3. And I'm thinking like, gosh, what is this dude doing? And Tatum was the one who gave him the ball. Did Tatum throw his sulky face at him like LeBron can do to the little brother?
There.
So what does Tatum do? He walks over and says, keep shooting. I'm going to keep
Absolutely.
passing it to you, keep shooting. And to me, that was like, wow, this kid has really grown up to be a man and to be a leader on this team. Like, I don't like the disappearing acts in the fourth
No, we
quarter,
don't.
and we're still not over that. We still need to see some finals fourth quarters out of Jason
And you're
Tatum.
damn lucky that Jaylen Brown is there too.
But you're seeing a lot better leadership and a better overall basketball player in Jason Tatum than you have when he came into this league.
yeah, I'm still not sold on Porzingis coming back though.
I don't know.
I think they're playing great without him. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. UConn men's baseball. They got their ticket punched. They are going to the NCAA tournament. Their first game is coming up on Friday. Ben and I were able to catch up with Coach Penders earlier today, and we'll replay that interview for you next on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell on your afternoon drive. John Ashmead is here. Kurt Kaplan is on the ones and twos. Happy Tuesday after your long Memorial Day weekend.